22nd of November, Rabbi Levitt, Gomorrah.
Okay, we're in progress. Welcome back. Okay, I had to do some homework on this. Wow.
Everybody should please mute. There's a bunch of noise somewhere.
Yes. Rabbi, my wife said that it was, she thinks it also has a Chofetz Chaim story.
Okay, I'd like to see it. Okay. All right, so what are we going to do over here? Okay, so basically what we did over here is that the Gomorrah rejected the question out of hand that if we're going to say that Eved Kanani is Pasal Edis, you'll also have to say that a Ger is Pasal Edis. And the Gomorrah rejected that and how the Gomorrah rejected it is what we were struggling with yesterday. Iso Kadaita Ger Pasal Edis. If you thought to say that a Ger is Pasal Edis, so then the Gomorrah said what it said. Did not have the opportunity to take a look at that Gomorrah another time, and so I would elect to hold that piece of Gomorrah in abeyance, unless somebody else has worked on it and come up with the correct shot in the Gomorrah, but barring that, we would just go to the next part that says Ella, which is all the way down on your page here on Pei Ches Amid Aleph 88a. Your would be your last art scroll page over there. And now the Gomorrah, I don't know actually how much more easy this is going to be. The Gomorrah is continuing with darshaning this pasuk, but we could try. We'll try. Ella midakos of Rachmana. From this that the Torah wrote, Lo Yumsu Avos Albonim, it wrote it in that fashion. The Gomorrah is now going to defend its position. That Eved Kanani is Pasal Edis, whereas a Ger is not. Okay, so where is this? You want to know? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the bottom of the page. Right in the middle of the line there, in the wide lines, the word Ella. First word in the line is Lamala. It's the third wide line on the page.
88A4, top of the page. The Gomorrah challenges this interpretation.
Challenges an interpretation? Okay, we'll see. It says Ella kedekos of Rachmana?
No, I'm in the wrong place. I have Ella me'ata uvanim.
Oh yeah,
I'm in the wrong place. All right, let me see if I can find it. Here, Ella midikasev Rachmana.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is still on 88A4. It's in the right-hand column. And it's in the middle of a paragraph. It's from the top of the page. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 lines down. But since the merciful one.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Roy, would you like to continue for us, please? You're muted.
No, you're not.
Okay. Alan, it's 11 lines down on 88 A4 on the right-hand column. Alo, Madakosev, Rachamona. But since the merciful one, in fact, wrote in the beginning of the verse, La Yumasu Avos al Bonim, fathers shall not be put to death because of sons. Fathers shall not be put to death because of sons. Demashme la yumasu al pi avos she'ein la chais bonim, which indicates that people should not be put to death through the testimony of fathers who have no genealogical relationship to their sons, which is an exclusive reference to slaves.
Right.
Shema Mina, learn from it. Eved she'ein la chais la ma'ala v'la ma'ata hu reposo ladus or edus, that it is a slave who does not have genealogical relationship either above to his father or below to his son, who is disqualified for testimony. A vulgar, however, a convert, kivan de yesh lo chais lamata, since he has a genealogical relationship below to his son, kasher le'edus, he is fitted for testimony.
What is the nature of the genealogical relationship that a ger has to his son, which is any more than the relationship that an Eved Kanani has to his son?
I think we decided that when it says genealogical relationship, when the art scroll says that, it means halachic relationship.
Yeah, wow. I have no other way to explain it. It just seems like I'm sure if you would call them and point that out to them, they'd I don't know what they would do, but I'm sure that they know very well that that their word choice is a little bit compromised over here. For some reason, they did not. I don't know. For some reason, they didn't want to use the word halachic, because they get into a whole discussion about whether I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea why they did that.
Yeah, they could have said legal. Instead of genealogical, they could have just said a legal relationship.
Yeah, because the word genealogical is totally confusing the issue completely, and really misrepresenting the Gomorrah over here. I don't know. Okay, So,
They do mean, in a sense, a genealogical concept. They mean there is a relationship. The yachas that we're talking about is that it's related. Is it an actual father? Is it an actual son? So, you have that case of the Eved who is not an actual father and not an actual son to the man, to the owner, to the person, to the Baal, where a ger, in that case, loses by becoming a ger, loses the yachas to the father, but if he does have a son, he does have a yachas to the son. So there is a gene connection to the son. It's just that the yichas, the genes, even though they were to the father, they're nullified. They're taken out of the picture once he becomes a ger. He's now no longer related to his father.
I see genealogical as meaning then that it's any relationship, including a blood relationship and including a non-blood relationship.
No, a non-blood relationship wouldn't be genealogical. Genealogical means there has to be a blood relationship.
Does have to.
That's what genealogical is. One's gene is in the other. There is a blood relationship.
I see. All right.
But it's nullified in the case of a ger. And that's why you're using the phrase about a halachic, because you lose it then. Even though there would have been a blood relationship, but they lose that relationship, they lose that yichus when it becomes a ger. He severs that relationship.
Okay. So it's a halachic relationship through the genes.
interesting. I mean, Phil is saying that when there's a halachic relationship, we're describing that the genealogical relationship is intact.
The genealogical relationship is always there. It doesn't change. What changes is the halacha. When a person converts, his father is not considered to be his father. Nothing changed in the genes. The genes are still there. He's still the father genealogically, but halachically, he's not.
Well, that's the concept of the yichus. What's considered a yichus. But the slave, either way, the Eved definitely has no yichus either way. And he's not related to the Baal, no matter what it is.
It's not the Baal it's not the relationship to the Baal that's in question. It's a relationship to his blood father.
But that's not what we're talking about. Why he's puzzle for Adis, having nothing with puzzle for Adis.
That is exactly why.
About the Eved?
We're saying that if he doesn't have a halachic father, then he can't testify.
So the gene business, the relationship stays, but the halachic aspect can change.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the in other words, in the case of a yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay, so now we go on. V'chitema. Alan, would you like to read V'chitema?
Sure.
Oh, do we have any Rashi first of all? Oh, we tried to read this Rashi yesterday. We're not going to try to do that again today. We do have but
There is a Rashi below, which might be the same thing. I'm not sure. Because I'm not sure that may come later. on the Bonim. I'm not sure if
think-
that's earlier or later.
Chayim Banim.
Oh yeah, you're right. Elamida Kosav Rachmana. I don't see another Elamida Kosav Rachmana in
Right.
sight.
Well, this only element on the Bonim says lemifsal le'eved, to make the eved puzzle. Shma mina ger kosher. But the toe, the ger would be kosher for Adis. The two, since furthermore lecha kal v'chomer, there is not a kal v'chomer in relationship to that.
Okay, there was a Kavah Chomer over here that we were referring to. That's what Rashi is referring to. I don't remember right now what that Kavah Chomer was.
It
wasn't-
was
It-
the disqualification of a slave could be derived through a Kal v'chomer argument from a convert as follows. Now, since a convert regarding whom it is above to his father, that he has no genealogical relationship, but below to his son, he does have a genealogical relationship,
Okay.
is disqualified from testimony, then regarding a slave who has no genealogical relationship either above to his father or below to his son, is it not logical that he too should be disqualified for testimony?
Yeah. So what we did in the previous section that we didn't quite understand, but this much we understand is that the way we were using this pasuk has two parts in it. The question is, what are you going to do with these two parts? We got three people over here that we're talking about. We've got a ger, we've got a Eved Kanani, and then we've got a relative. How do we get all three psulim out from only two places in a pasuk to get anything out of? So the answer is that we wanted to say that the pasuk was talking about excluding a korov, a relative. It was also talking explicitly about, at least according to our method of derivation, of a ger. It was excluding a ger, and even though it was not talking about an Eved Kanani, but that we wanted to say was a Kal v'chomer, because if the pasuk is excluding a ger, then Kal v'chomer, it doesn't need to write that an Eved Kanani is excluded, because he doesn't have chayes bonim, and he doesn't have chayes avos. He doesn't have any chayes in the previous generation or in the later generation after him either. So that's the Kal v'chomer, like Shkoyak Tulu for correctly pointing out what the Kal v'chomer is that Rashi is referring to. And now that the Gomorrah is saying that no, the pasuk is not really referring at all to a ger. That's really the bottom line. The pasuk is not referring to a ger at all. It's only referring to an Eved Kanani who has both of the who qualifies to be excluded from this pasuk because he has both of these features, both of these inadequacies that the pasuk is referring to. When the pasuk says the father shouldn't be put to death on the base of the sons, and then it says the son shouldn't be put to death on the base of the fathers, it's describing two different aspects of an inadequacy, and both of them refer to an Eved Kanani, and we need both of those inadequacies in order to exclude an Eved Kanani as being Pasal Edis, and therefore we don't exclude a ger because he only has one inadequacy of the two that are mentioned in the pasuk. And so therefore Rashi is saying, from the fact that the pasuk said lo yumsu avus al bonim, that's coming to be posel the Eved. That's what it's coming to be posel. Because not only does he have no chayas avos, he also has no chayas bonim either. Shmamina, that a ger is kosher. We hear from that the ger will be kosher, because in order to be puzzle, you have to have both inadequacies, and a ger only has one inadequacy. His one inadequacy is he doesn't have any chayas to his father anymore, but he does have chayas to his sons that are born after he was Megayer. So therefore he's going to be kosher. Then Rashi mentions Vesu leke kabachomer, and now after having darshan the pasuk in that way, we don't have any kabachomer. We don't have a kabachomer, meaning that we're not going to say that a ger is going to be disqualified as a kal v'chomer from the fact that we see that the pasuk is referring to an Eved Kanani. That's not a kal v'chomer. It was only a kal v'chomer. The whole kal v'chomer existed as long as we were saying that the pasuk was referring to a ger, and it was not explicitly referring to an Eved Kanani. Oh, now we got a kal v'chomer. That if the pasuk is talking about a ger, then kal v'chomer and Eved Kanani should be excluded, even though he's not mentioned explicitly in the pasuk. But now that we're saying the pasuk is talking about a Eved Kanani, not talking about a ger, so now we have no kal v'chomer anymore. Okay, that's as much as we got on that. Okay. Any questions on that section? Okay, right. Oh, when there's no questions, let's go quickly to the next section. Okay.
Okay, V'chi Temor. Gomorrah resolves one level difficulty. If you say, Lichtu Raka Mono, for
Yeah.
Lo Yoma So'al, Avo say him, let the merciful one write at the end of the verse, and sons shall not be put to death because of their fathers. Normally, the Chorsav Rachamonor Uvonim Lo Yuma Su Al Ovos. Why do I need the merciful one to write, and sons shall not be put to death because of fathers? Mashma Lo Yumasu Al Pi Vonim Sha'ain Lohem Al Chayim Avos, which implies that people should not be put to death through the testimony of sons who have no genealogical relationship to their fathers. The answer is I de Chorsav Lo Yomasu Vos al Bonim. Since the Torah wrote in the beginning of the verse, fathers shall not be put to death because of sons, Gami, who were named Lo Yuma Su al Vos. It wrote also for stylistic consistency, the end of the verse, and sons shall not be put to death because of fathers. The Mishnah stated, "Hooray, Shotei v'Katan."
Okay, let's stop there. Let's stop there. That's the end of that section.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Alan.
Okay.
Okay, so here we're getting back into this section that we didn't get the whole get it all completely. But what's happening over here is that the Gomorrah has the Gomorrah's not giving up. Gomorrah's saying maybe you'll have a question on what we said. You still got a question. What exactly is the question over here that we got? In other words, the Gomorrah, what we said was that all we have in this pasuk is a psul for krovim and a psul for an Evet Kanani. We have no reference in the pasuk to a psul for a ger. So how are we going to get? Where do we find the psul for the krovim? The Gomorrah says, "Lichtov Rachmana ubonim lo yumsu al avoseihem." The Gomorrah has a question that if it's like you say that the pasuk is coming to exclude the testimony of krovim, then the pasuk should have said. The pasuk should have said in the second part of the pasuk, "Bonim lo yumsu al avoseihem," because that is that language of avoseihem, as opposed to what the pasuk does say avos. That language of avoseihem is directed at this limud, that there's a psul krovim. This that it says avoseihem, in other words, tells us that banim will not be put to death, lo yubsu al avoseihem, on the basis of their father's testimony. When it says avoseihem, it's talking about the testimony of the avos of their fathers, and therefore we learn this din that krovim are pasol le'edus. So that's the Gemara's question. V'chitema, it's as you say, that we learn out from the second part of the verse a psul for krovim. Lichtov Rachmana ubonim lo yumsu al avoseihem. Lamali the kasav Rachmana ubonim lo yumsu al avos. It's not what the pasuk says. The pasuk says what Rashi referred to as a language of stam. Stam means it's unspecified, it's undelineated. It just says bonim lo yumsu al avos. Sons will not be put to death on the basis of fathers. What does that mean, fathers? What is that referring to? The Gomorrah challenges one last time, Demashma lo yumsu al pi bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos. The Gomorrah again insists that the lashon of the pasuk as it appears in the pasuk, that it says stam, it says ubonim lo yumsu al avos. That's what the pasuk says. That's the way it's written. It's not written avoseihem. So if it's going to be written avos, the Gomorrah again reiterates the taina that bespeaks the halacha that a ger would be pasul. Then we would read the pasuk as follows, says the Gemara. It's mashma from the exact words of the pasuk, bonim lo yumsu avos, that lo yumsu al pi bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos, that people will not be put to death based upon bonim, the testimony of bonim, al pi bonim, that what type of bonim are they? They're bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos. The fact that the pasuk says avos, stam, and it doesn't say avoseihem, the Gemara insists that this means that we're not talking about a psul edus because the person is a relative of the person on trial, but the one that's testified, he cannot testify at all because he is a type of a person, he's a bonim she'ein lehem chayes avos. He doesn't have any halachic connection, or as the Art Scroll says, genealogical connection to his father. So we're getting a little bit more of an understanding, I believe, I hope, to what we were talking about before. The Gomorrah maintains over here that it's still not good the way that we've explained that the pasuk is not talking about a ger, because you have to admit, says the Gomorrah, that the fact that that if it meant to tell you that we're telling you about a psul because of the fact that the aid is a relative, that he's a relative, that it should have written Avosehem, his father. Sons should not be put to death on the base of testimony of their fathers. But it doesn't write that in the pasuk. In the pasuk it says bonim lo yumsu al avos. Doesn't say on their fathers. It says avos. And on that, the Gomorrah says that's mashma, that we're talking about someone who's on trial cannot be put to death based upon this ben, that he does not have chayas avos, meaning he does not have a halachic connection to his father. And that is the exact description of a ger. So at the end of the day, the Gomorrah is saying over here, is jumping back again and saying, we still say that the pasuk is mashma, that a ger is pasula edis. If we're going to darshan the psukim in the way that you have darshaned them for an Evet Kanani, we're going to say the same thing about a ger. On that, the Gemara answers. You know what the Gemara answers? Very interesting answer. To say about a pasuk, we say this about a Mishnah or a Brisa. We say such a thing. I never saw such a thing about a pasuk. The Gemara says, "Aidi lo yumsu avos albonim." Since the first part of the pasuk wrote in a language of stam, lo yumsu avos albonim, the fathers won't be put to death on sons. Doesn't say that it's their son. Specifically, it says on sons. It didn't say b'neihem on the basis of the testimony of their sons. It just wrote it stam. Therefore, kasav nami. Therefore, it also said in the seifa of the pasuk, bonim lo yumsu al avos. It also wrote it stam. So like we say in a Mishnah, we want the Reisha to match the language of the Seifa. We want it to be a symmetrical Mishnah, that the language should be complementary and have in common the same word usage. That's what we say about a Mishnah. but I don't remember the last time I saw the Gomorrah saying this svara for a pasuk in Chumash. This is quite, to me, this is mind-blowing what the Gomorrah is saying over here. But that's what the Gomorrah is saying in order to get out of the kasha. The kasha is so strong. It's such a strong kasha. Okay.
I don't see why you say it's a strong kasha. I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say it's such a weak kasha that you can get out of it through a stylistic discussion rather than anything more substantial than that. They've already proved the point.
Even in the okay, let's hear.
We've already proved the point that converts can testify. It's saying, well, if you know converts can testify, then why don't you say it more explicitly in the Seifa? And the answer is, we've already proved that. We don't need to prove it anymore, and we want to be stylistically symmetrical. So that's what we're doing.
Where did we prove that converts were not excluded?
We proved that just above where we just read. Aval ger kevan diyesh lo chayis lamata.
Yeah, it's a very good svara. it's a good svara, but to say that it's written in the pasuk is a very difficult matter. The svara we hear, in other words, if we would not have any pasuk, and we would say, who do you think is more likely to be disqualified by a pasuk between a ger and an Eved Kanani? What would we say? 100%. We would say certainly the Eved Kanani should be more the first candidate that we would exclude, because he doesn't have a halakhic connection above or below, whereas the ger, he does have a halakhic connection below. Very nice. That's a very nice svara. But the question is where is it written in this pasuk that a ger is kosher? It's
saying it doesn't have to be written. We just derived it. It says kosher le'edus. That's the conclusion of this point.
Well, the Gomorrah has not taken that conclusion as a. I mean, it's true. The Gomorrah has taken the conclusion. Okay, we'll say it like this: the Gomorrah said, "Fine, we understand where you're coming from. We understand what you've done, but still, in all, you know what? It doesn't really sit so well in terms of the language of the psukim, because based upon your assertion of what the pasuk is talking about, it's very difficult to maintain your position. Really, if that pasuk, that's what the Gemara is saying over here. On regard to the second part of the pasuk, the second part of the pasuk says, "Avos lo yumsu," "Banim lo yumsu." Ubanim lo yumsu al avos. That's what the pasuk says. And like this, the Gomorrah wanted to say that that's referring to that's not referring to an Eved Kanani. I'm sorry, it's not referring to a ger. It's not referring to a ger. But it's only referring to the second the second inadequacy of the Eved Kanani that makes him disqualified.
Right.
We want to say that it is telling me this, that it didn't say B'neihem, it's coming to tell me that we're talking about the Eved, that he doesn't have any yichus banim, he doesn't have any halachic connection. He as an Eved Kanani, he doesn't have any connection as a father to his genealogical son. He's not regarded as his halachic, is not regarded as halachic son. And that's who the pasuk is that's who the pasuk is talking about. No. That's not what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara is saying, again, that the Gemara is referring to the first part of the pasuk. The Gemara is saying, since we said the first part of the pasuk, we described the connection that the relative has to the relative stam. We didn't say his. We didn't say, since we didn't say in the first part of the pasuk, we didn't say his son. We did not say his son. We said banim, and that was what allowed us to say that, oh, it's talking about an Eved Kanani. Because if it was only telling me that there's going to be a psul edus for a karov, it should have said in the first part of the pasuk, lo yumsu avos al b'neihem. So since it said banim, because it had a reason to say banim, the reason to say banim is to tell me that not only are krovim going to be puzzle, but also avos that do not have halachic banim. That's why it said banim and not b'nei Benayhem. Didn't say Benayhem. So that so therefore now the Gomorrah says, and since we needed to say Banim in the first part of the pasuk and not say Benayhem, which would have been a more accurate way to describe a psul of Adis on the basis of relative, being a relative, a korov. Therefore, Kosav Nami, we also said in the Seifa of the pasuk as well. When we say Bun ubanim lo yumsu al avois. Therefore, even we say it over there stam also. The avos, it says, the last word in that pasuk, avos, is stam. The form of avos is an expression of stam, of fathers, not avosehem, not of their fathers, not of their fathers. Okay, I admit that I don't understand this completely fully, but I think we did accomplish a lot today in getting closer to the. It's going to be easier to figure that section out that we didn't figure out the other day, yesterday. Okay, but at any rate, so therefore the Gomorrah is concluding and saying that it's only because of since we started off saying stam, we said banim stam, so therefore we're also going to say abu stam.
So let me read you the footnote that I think is my comment is based on. That is, inasmuch as the Gomorrah has just proved from the first part of the verse that a convert is indeed qualified to testify, why is the second part of the verse worded in such a way that it implies that a convert is disqualified?
Again, what was the question?
We just proved in the first part that a convert is qualified.
We proved in the first part of the pasuk that a convert is qualified?
Right.
Oh, because he
Therefore,
doesn't have that psul of oh, I see. Ah, you see. Oh, now we got another piece of information. Great. We're saying we know that's the answer to your that's the question that I asked you, and that's the answer that you have to give me to my question.
right.
We proved that the convert is included. He's not excluded. He's not excluded from being an aid, because we see that what excludes an aid, we see that from the first part of the pasuk, because the pasuk said lo yumsu avos al banim, and the fact that it did not say b'neihem, it said banim. We understand that we're talking about the reason why the Kanani is pasal edis is because he is an av who doesn't have halachic banim. That's the way we're learning the pasuk.
Right.
And the corollary of that is that a ger who does have chayas banim, he does have sons. The Torah recognizes his sons. Therefore, he we see right there that he is not going to be excluded in the from being an aid.
Right.
Very good.
So now,
Okay.
since we just proved that, why
Right.
in the second part is it written in such a way that we might want to say that he's excluded?
Like we said, Lichtov Rachmana Ubanim Lo Yumsu Al Abu Sehem. The Torah should have written the second part Abu Sehem.
Right, because then it would be clear that the convert is not disqualified.
It could because based upon the fact that it says Abu Sehem, we see that the
does-
pasuk is referring to a psul because of he's a relative, not
It's-
because of a convert.
It doesn't
Right.
say, no, it doesn't say Avosehem, it just says Avos. And the reason it doesn't say Avosehem is because Avosehem would also have to knock the ger out. It would make the ger puzzle, but the ger isn't puzzle. The ger is kosher ladies. So that's why it can't say Avosehem, because that would be a problem that would disqualify the ger. You don't want to
Oh, wow.
disqualify the ger from Adis. So that's why it can't say Avosehem. It just says the generic Avos. Just the stam. And why bother saying the generic? The generic is stayed just for the stylistic purposes. Can't say Avosehem. That would disqualify a ger.
No, you're missing the point, Phil. It could say it either way.
No, but the Avosehem would
What
disqualify a ger.
the Gomorrah is asking is, why don't you say it the other way? You could say it either way.
No, why should
It
we
would be
say
more
Avosehem?
clear if you said it the other way. And the answer is, you're right, we could say it the other way, but we want to have it stylistically similar, so we say it this way.
No, stylistically is why it is the Avos. Why doesn't it say Avosehem? Avosehem would disqualify a ger, and you don't want to disqualify.
Why does Avosehem exclude a ger? What is how
Because
do you
it's not his
interpret
father.
that?
He can't be disqualified for his father because his father is not. He doesn't have a father to be disqualified from.
No, on the basis of the testimony of their fathers.
Right, but their father's testimony of reuse would be meaningless in a case of a ger.
So therefore, it doesn't disqualify him.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, take care. Be well. It's late now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Everybody have a good day. We're getting there.
I think we made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. I think so too. Have a great day.
All right, Kol Tuv.
Amen. Kol Tuv. Bye, Alan. Bye, Roy. Bye.